Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamin Iti Namane Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharani Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarane Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, Sri Advaita Gadadhar, Srivas Adi Gaur Bhaktavrinda. Trinadapi Sunichena, Tarad Iva Sahishnuna, Amanina Manadena, Kirtaniya Sadahari. Hare Nama, Hare Nama, Hare Namaiva Kevalam, Kalo Nastyeva, 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 Gatir Anyata. The glories of Srila Haridäsa Thäkura. Vrindavandas Thakur, the author, says, all glories to Lord Gaurasundara, the friend of the meek and poor. All glories to the husband of Srimati Lakshmi Devi. Lord Chaitanya is the omnipotent Supreme Lord and the maintainer and controller of everyone and everything. All glories to you, Sri Gaurahari, for you mercifully descend to protect your devotees. All glories to Gaurachandra, for he is the personification of the holy name. He is the supreme friend and the absolute truth. All glories to Lord Gaurachandra and his devotees. One is elevated to the platform of pure devotional service simply by hearing and sincerely relishing his transcendental pastimes. The transcendental topics narrated in the Adikanda of this Caitanya-bhägavat are like a stream of pure nectar, for they describe Lord Gaurachandra's enchanting pastimes. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Part 2. The appearance of Srila Haridäsa Thakur. Vrindavandas Thakur now says, Sri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the Supreme Lord of the Vaikuntha planets, lived in Navadvip, and as a householder, he was teaching students. He had appeared specifically to reveal and propagate the process of pure devotional service to the Supreme Lord. But it was the wish of Lord Chaitanya that no one should know his recondite, his incomprehensible identity. The entire human society was totally devoid of any spiritual aspirations. The people were only immersed in the base and perverted enjoyments of the material body. Those who held discourses on Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam were scarcely better, for they did not instruct people on the essence of those scriptures. What was that essence? The congregational chanting of the holy name of the Lord. Seeing the hopeless plight of the living entities, the true Vaishnava devotees of the Lord often met together away from public view. They would clap their hands and chant the holy name of God in ecstasy. The materialistic people of Nadia continually criticized the devotees. They would say, "What is the purpose of howling so loudly? After all, I am Brahman, and the absolute truth resides within me. So there is no need to discriminate between master and service." Meanwhile, others angrily said, "These chanters beg food only to fill their bellies, and they call out, 'Hari, Hari!' Let us break down their doors and smash their houses." The chanters were discouraged by these derogatory remarks, and the fact that they had no one to complain to made their dismay even greater. Wherever they looked, the devotees found the people devoid of devotion to the Supreme Lord. The devotees simply cried to Lord Krishna and lamented for the plight of human society. And so, it was about this time Srila Haridäsa Thäkura appeared in Navadvip. His body glowed with pure devotion for the Supreme Lord. And now, I, Vrindavandas Thäkura, will narrate the wonderful activities of Srila Haridäsa Thäkura. Whosoever hears this narration will receive the full shelter of Lord Krishna. Because of the presence of Haridäsa Thäkura, he was born in a village called Budan. Many people became purified by his presence and took up the chanting of the holy name. After some years, Haridäsa Thäkura left his village and traveled to a place near the river Ganga. Finally, he settled in the village of Hulia near Shantipur. Advaita Acharya Prabhu was overjoyed to meet Srila Haridäsa Thäkura in Navadvip and expressed his joy by roaring loudly. Haridäsa Thäkura was similarly swept away by the waves of ecstatic Krishna prema, love of God, in the transcendental company of Advaita Acharya Prabhu. Srila Haridäsa Thäkura would pass his time wandering upon the banks of the Ganga, chanting the name of the Supreme Lord, Sri Krishna. Haridäsa had absolutely no attraction for material enjoyment. The holy name of Lord Krishna continuously vibrated on his tongue, creating an extraordinary beauty. Not even for a moment did Haridäsa feel any apathy towards his chanting of the holy name of Krishna. He remained always absorbed, tasting the nectar of devotional service. Occasionally, he danced in ecstasy or cried out in lamentation, while at other times he would lay still in a state of unconsciousness. Sometimes he spoke in mysterious languages and would later explain the meaning of his mad words. All the ecstatic symptoms of love of Krishna were manifest within him. Profuse crying, horripilation, laughing, fainting, perspiration, etc. It was not uncommon to see Srila Dasa Thakur dancing while he sang out the glories of Lord Krishna's name. People would gather around him just to see the unrestricted tears of Krishna praying. That love of God had flowed profusely from his eyes, drenching his entire body. Even the strictest of atheists marveled at his behavior. Goosebumps swelled across his body like thousands of blooming flowers. And even Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva were amazed by the devotion of Haridäsa Thakur. In the village of Fulia, even the ritualistic Brahmins were sincerely impressed, if not astonished, by Srila Dasa Thakur's spiritual ecstasies. The people of the village held that saint in full respect, and having won their trust, Haridäsa lived there quite peacefully. He would bathe daily in the Ganga, and he roamed freely, chanting the Lord's holy name. Part 3. Acharya Haridäsa Thakur preaches to the fellow prisoners. Vrindavan Das Thakur now says, the local Muslim magistrate authority, known as the Qaji, became envious of Haridäsa Thakur's popularity and reported to the Nawab, the ruling Muslim landholder. This man is acting like a Hindu. Arrest him and punish him appropriately. The envious words of the sinful Qaji sparked an immediate response from the equally sinful Nawab, and thus Haridäsa Thakur was arrested and brought forth. But having received the full mercy of Lord Krishna, Haridäsa had neither fear of the Muslim authorities, not even of death itself. With the name of the Lord upon his lips, Haridäsa appeared before the Nawab. Meanwhile, when devotees and other pious persons in the locality of the Nawab's palace heard that Saint Haridäsa was coming, they were all extremely happy. But when they subsequently learned that he was coming as a captive of the Muslim ruler, they were horrified. Previously, many religious people had been terrorized and incarcerated by the Muslims. All these prisoners were happy to learn that Haridäsa might be joining them. His presence in their miserable situation would certainly eradicate their suffering. The prisoners even requested the prison wardens to allow them unrestricted association with Srila Haridäsa Thakur. When Thakurji was brought into the prison, he looked compassionately at all the prisoners. Those prisoners immediately prostrated themselves at his lotus feet. His long, graceful arms, which extended to his knees, his lotus eyes, and his charming moon-like face enchanted everyone. The prisoners offered their most sincere respects to Saint Haridäsa, and thus love for Krishna stirred in their hearts. Haridäsa was pleased with the tremendous devotion that had grown in the hearts of the prisoners, and thus he blessed them. Just remain as you are. However, the miserable prisoners could not grasp the depth of that blessing, and thus they felt quite dejected. Haridäsa could see their misunderstanding and compassionately explained himself. My blessing to you is that you will remain as you are. But please, do not feel dejected. I could never wish you any misfortune. I simply desire that the love you now feel for Krishna should always remain the same. From now on, chant Lord Krishna's name and constantly remember his pastimes. Inspire one another to retain your present devotion to Krishna. In the spiritual world, violence and tyranny are absent. Therefore, sincerely cry out for Krishna's help and constantly think of him. And when you are released from this prison, neither return to your old materialistic ways, nor associate with degraded or sinful people. Because if you do, one can never cultivate love for the Supreme Lord Krishna by living a mundane life. You should know that Krishna is unobtainable for materialistic persons. A materially engrossed mind is shaped by unwanted, mischievous desires. Attachment for wife, children, family, and all other such illusions simply brings about destruction. But if by divine arrangement a person reaches the platform of pure devotion toward Krishna, certain realizations dawn upon one, and he or she gradually becomes detached from material life. One thus instead worships the Supreme Lord. However, if that person returns to his or her materialistic life, one's mind will certainly become contaminated by capricious, mischievous desires. One remains fallen. I certainly do not want you to remain prisoners forever, but I do pray that you develop a distaste for material pleasures. Please, chant the holy name of the Lord. My blessing was meant to free you from your present miserable condition and ensure that you remain happy in love of Krishna. As for me, I look upon everyone equally, and I wish the best for all living entities. I pray that you may develop unflinching devotion for Lord Krishna. Do not be sad. You will all be freed within 1 or 2 or 3 days. You should believe me. Once you leave this prison, you may live in the forest or you may live in your home. But always think of Krishna and try to cultivate spiritual life. Part 4. Haridäsa Thäkura, convicted of becoming a kafir. Vrindavan Das Thakur now says, having showered his unrestricted mercy upon the prisoners, Haridäsa went before the Nawab. By his purity, Srila Haridäsa Thakura radiated great effulgence, which the Nawab could not fail to notice. Spontaneously, he rose respectfully when Haridäsa entered, and he offered Saint Haridäsa a seat. Although he himself had become quite confused, the Nawab asked Haridäsa, "What sort of mentality has overcome you? Knowing that you have had the good fortune of becoming a Muslim, why do you behave like a Hindu? We do not even accept rice touched by a Hindu. Yet, you want to ignore your high birth and become a low-caste Hindu? To discard your own race, land, and religion for another is simply perverted. How do you expect to attain the liberated platform if you continue to behave like this? I have decided to punish you. I will punish you according to the mandates of the Quran. Thus, you will be freed from your sins." Srila Haridäsa Thakura patiently listened to the threats and accusations of the Nawab, recognizing his words only as the illusory potency of the Supreme Lord Vishnu. Without any apprehension, Haridäsa simply smiled at the Nawab and spoke in a sweet, soothing voice. "My dear sir, there is only one God for all living entities. The difference between the Muslim God and the Hindu God is in name only. According to knowledgeable Hindus and Muslims, and according to every scripture, be it the Quran or the Purana, God is one. He is non-dual, eternal, transcendental. He is the absolute truth, infallible, and perfectly complete. And in that capacity, He resides in everyone's heart. The omnipotent Lord is the supreme controller of everything. The living entity is moved by the desire of the Supreme Lord, and the living entity acts and works only according to the Lord's design. The Supreme Lord's transcendental names, activities, qualities, associates, and abode are glorified variously in different religions. Nevertheless, irrespective of the manner in which He is worshipped, the Lord accepts everyone's individual mood of surrender towards Him. However, if one living entity feels hatred or envy towards another, this is ultimately a reflection of his or her relationship with the Supreme Lord. And the Lord never tolerates one living entity's transgressions against another. A wrongdoer is thus surely punished. Whatever you see of my activities or of myself are manifestations of the Lord who guides me from within. A person may be born in a family of Brahmanas, but she may become a Muslim. What should the Hindus do with such a person? Such a person who was once a Muslim, who has become a Hindu or one who has a Hindu has become a Muslim should be punished? We are all only acting in accordance with the inner prompting of the Lord. And the Lord is simply fulfilling one's personal desires. Everyone will eventually receive the results of his or her decisions. What is the use of killing someone who is already dead? My dear respected sir, please consider these points seriously. And if you still find me guilty, then punish me. The Muslim courtiers were sincerely moved by the purity of Haridäsa Thakura's words and presence. However, his wisdom could not penetrate the envious and sinful heart of the Kaji. The Kaji turned to the Nawab and then instructed, "You must punish this man. He is evil and mischievous. Others will fall under his influence and become equally sinful. He will disgrace our Muslim religion and our Muslim community. He must therefore be appropriately punished. However, if he wants to be excused, then let him speak from his own Muslim scripture." The Nawab tried again. "My friend, just speak repentance from your own Muslim scripture and accept the true path. Then you have nothing to fear. Otherwise, the Kaji, who is present, will force me to punish you. He and his men will revile and insult you. Why should you let that happen?" Haridäsa replied, "Whatever the Supreme Lord desires is destined to happen. No one can check it. Each and every one of us suffers according to the degree of one's previous offenses. All this is done by the Lord. Even if my body is cut into pieces and I lose my life, I will never give up chanting the Lord's holy name. I will never give up chanting the Lord's holy name." The Nawab heard the fearless reply of Srila Haridäsa Thakur and then turned to the Kaji. "Now, what is your decision about him?" The envious Kaji replied, "Lash him in 22 marketplaces until he dies. There is no other judgment I find appropriate. If he lives despite this punishment, then I will conclude that our big scholar Haridäsa has actually spoken the truth." Part 5. The beatings of Haridäsa Thakur in 22 marketplaces. Vrindavan Das Thakur continued. The sentries were called in and the orders boomed out. "Lash him until he breathes his last breath. The sin a Muslim incurs by becoming a Hindu can only be punished by death." The Kaji's envious designs had fructified in the heart of the Nawab, and Srila Haridas was dragged away by the sentries. From one marketplace to another, they beat him mercilessly, their black hearts consumed by hate. They hated the pure devotee of the Lord. Nonetheless, Haridas was a pure soul and completely surrendered to the Supreme Lord. And so he faithfully chanted Lord Krishna's holy name. Thus, he was absorbed in fervent chanting. And because of his fervent chanting, and because of his total absorption, he did not feel any pain. The good-hearted and pious people could not bear to see the torture inflicted on such an innocent person. Some begged the sentries to stop, while others predicted, if they continue to torture this good man, the entire kingdom will be ruined. Many of them cursed the king to die, while some tried to stop the sentries physically. One person threw himself at the feet of the sentries and pleaded, "I will give you any reward you like. Please, stop this merciless beating." However, none of the protests evoked the slightest mercy from the sentries, who continued to drag Srila Haridas Thakur from one marketplace to another, lashing him relentlessly. By the grace of Lord Krishna, Haridas felt no pain in his body. Just like Prahlad in the Srimad Bhagavatam, who was tortured by demons, Haridas never suffered at all. Not only was Haridas freed from his pain, but whoever so remembers the story of Srila Haridas will also be saved from the miseries of life. Vrindavan Das Thakur says, whoever remembers this story of the beating of Srila Haridas Thakur will also be saved from the miseries of life. Throughout his ordeal, Haridas's single emotion was pity for the sentries. O Lord Krishna, please be merciful upon these poor souls, so they may not be punished because of me. Nonetheless, nothing could stop the insensitive sentries. They were determined to see their assignment through to its deathly end. Yet, for all their beating, Haridas showed no signs of distress. He was so absorbed in remembering the holy name of Lord Krishna. At last, the guards had to stop in amazement. How can a human being survive such a brutal beating? An ordinary man would have died after the beating we gave in the first 2 or 3 marketplaces. We have lashed him continuously through 22 marketplaces, and still he shows no sign of either pain or death. Occasionally, he looks up to smile at us. The sentries concluded that Haridas must surely be a saintly person. "O Haridas, on account of you, we shall certainly be punished. When the Kaji sees that despite our beating, you are still alive, he shall certainly kill us instead." Haridas replied, "If my survival brings such terrible misfortune to you, well then I shall certainly and most definitely give up my body. Now, just see how I die." Srila Haridas Thakur immediately fell into trance. A pure devotee of the Supreme Lord possesses all mystic power. So without any hesitation, Srila Haridas Thakur fell lifeless without any trace of breath. The Muslim sentries were astonished, but they gladly brought the body of Srila Haridas to the Nawab. When the Nawab ordered the sentries to bury him, the Qaji protested. No, if he is buried, he will be saved and ultimately gain entrance into heaven. Although he had achieved high birth as a Muslim, he has behaved like a low-class Hindu. Therefore, it is proper for him to be thrown into the Ganga. There he will suffer eternally, like the other lost Hindus. If he were buried, he would have become elevated and freed from his sins. On the Qazi's order, the sentries picked up the body of Haridas Thakur and carried him to the Ganga. Haridas remained in his deathly trance, meditating on the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The spirit of Lord Krishna then descended into the body of Srila Thakur, and Haridas became so heavy that it was impossible to move him. The strongest sentries came forward to push him into the waters, but he remained in deep trance and could not be moved. Haridas had already drowned in the ocean of love for Lord Krishna, and he had no perception of the world around him. He knew not if he was still embodied or wandering somewhere else in the universe, or if he was deep in the water of the Ganga. Just like Prahlad Maharaj, Haridas Thakur had the spiritual ability to constantly remember the Supreme Lord. Such an extraordinary capability was not surprising, for Haridas Thakur's heart was the permanent residence of Lord Gaurachandra. This entire episode with Srila Haridas Thakur is a replication of the heroic activities of Sri Hanuman in Sri Lanka. Indrajit, Ravan's son, had sent the Brahmastra, a weapon given to him by Lord Brahma, to capture Hanuman. Hanuman could easily have escaped it, but to show respect to the potency of Lord Brahma, Hanuman allowed himself to be bound by the Brahmastra. Similarly, Srila Haridas Thakur could have escaped the punishment of the Muslims, but by allowing them to torture him, he taught the world a great lesson. Despite the extreme miseries of life, one must never stop chanting the name of Krishna. One must never stop the chanting of the name of Krishna. One must never stop the chanting of the name of Krishna. The Supreme Lord, Govinda, directly protected Haridas Thakur. Therefore, who could harm him? If one simply remembers the name of Haridas, not to mention his terrible ordeal at the hands of the Muslims, one becomes freed from one's own pain and misery. Most certainly, Srila Haridas Thakur was one of the closest and most important associates of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Chaitanya Chandra. Haridas floated downstream on the currents of the Ganga, And after some time, he became conscious by the Lord's desire. Fully awakened and overwhelmed with ecstasy, he climbed the bank of the Ganga and proceeded toward Fulia. As he walked, loudly chanting the name of Krishna. When the Muslims saw Srila Haridäsa, they were convinced that he possessed extraordinary mystic powers. Pure, happy feelings replaced the envy and hate in their hearts. They offered him obeisances, worshiping him as a very saintly person. By this worship, the Muslims became free from material entanglement. Later, in the presence of the Nawab, Haridäsa smiled compassionately at the Muslim ruler, who stood remorsefully with folded hands. Feeling great awe and reverence, in a humble and meek voice, the Nawab said, "I can now understand that you are truly a saintly person. Surely you have realized the absolute truth, and you have seen the one Supreme Lord everywhere and in everyone. You are a perfected soul and have actually attained absolute knowledge and liberation. This absolute knowledge and liberation is falsely and proudly boasted by mystic yogis and philosophers, but you have actually attained it. I have come just to see you, simply to beg forgiveness. Please forgive me. Kindly forgive me for my offenses that I have committed against you. Since you see everyone equally, you have neither friends nor enemies. There is no one in the entire world that can actually grasp your extraordinary position. You are a free man in every respect. You may stay in a lonely hut or a cave on the bank of the river Ganga, or wherever you wish. From now on, you may stay anywhere and do whatever you please. However, please be merciful upon those of us who have committed this great offense against you." Everyone, whether elevated or wretched, automatically forgets about mundane life when he or she sees the lotus feet of Srila Haridäsa Thäkura. The Muslims had been angry enough to kill him, yet they were transformed and finally worshipped his lotus feet, accepting him as a holy man. After forgiving and blessing them, Haridäsa went to Fulia. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Never felt like this before I chanted. How did I exist before I chanted? Now you're on my mind. You're there all the time. I can't forget that you're inside my heart, inside my heart. Oh my Lord, must surrender. Oh my Lord, I really must surrender. Oh my Lord, I truly must surrender to you, to you. Things have really changed since I've been chanting. My life is not the same since I've been chanting. You got a way about you. Now I can't live without you. I can't forget that you're inside my heart. You're inside my heart. Oh my Lord, I simply must surrender. Oh my Lord, I really must surrender. Oh my Lord, I truly must surrender to you, to you. Give up all varieties of religion and just surrender to me, Krishna says. I will deliver you from all sinful reactions. Do not fear, do not worry, do not hesitate. So let me go on chanting for 1,000,000 years. I won't forget that you're inside my heart, inside my heart. Oh my Lord, I simply must surrender. Oh my Lord, I really must surrender. Oh my Lord, I truly must surrender to you, to you. Thank you very much. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. All glories to Namacharya Haridäsa Thäkura.